No, I'm very, very hyped. It does suck losing Kenny. Kenny Clark was just one of those dudes, but I mean, I don't. You do that trade 100 times out of 100, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Like,
yeah,
as much as I love Kenny Clark and wish him
well,
well, but
mhm, yeah. No, a trade up, dude. It's a trade up.
oh
So
yeah, big time. I mean, people can worry about the money, whatever. We'll get into it during the podcast. I don't want to blow my load too early, I guess.
yeah, well, I don't want to clean that up. So
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have bar? Can I at least have bar? Can I at least have bar?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
it's going good, man. Just feeling it, We're gonna week out until the big
Oh yeah,
season. So just it's a matter of time. I think I got two more drafts
yeah, me too.
to get in.
Two more, too many.
And yeah, just kind of waiting for kickoff, man. Start
Yeah,
the clock. I'm ready to
1 week.
roll.
By the
Yeah.
time you hear us next, two NFL games will already have been played. So pretty exciting stuff. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the NFC North, arguably the best division in football, and one that's near and dear to my heart, obviously. So I mean, we can just crack into it because this is happening on a day that it is a good day to be a Packers fan. So I'm going to kick us off with the Green Bay Packers, and I'm going to do something I haven't done this entire time, which is kick us off with the defensive side of the ball because the Green Bay Packers just traded for Micah Parsons and made him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Money well spent, hopefully. Obviously, these things can go wrong, but it doesn't I wouldn't expect it to go wrong. Stat that I keep seeing flying around because of the Packers is that Micah Parsons is the second player in NFL history to go 4 straight seasons off rip with 12 or more sacks, and the only other person to do that was Reggie White. So
Hey,
seems
look
like
at
he's in good
that.
company. So and it just, my first notes, I didn't change my notes for the Packers here. My first thing on the defensive side of the ball was there's not a ton of superstars on this defense. That almost immediately changes with the addition of Parsons. I talked about Xavier McKinney. He's an obvious star. He was an electric addition that the Packers made last year. I think Edrin Cooper will be seen as a superstar league wide by the end of the year. I think he's that talented. I couldn't classify him as a sleeper though in our thing that we do because he's rostered in 80% of 80 IDP leagues. So, but Michael Parsons just changes this entire defense. Like our defense was ranked 20th in the NFL in pressure rate, and we led the NFL in pressure rate when sending blitzes. So we were having to generate all this simulated pressure. We couldn't just rush guys to generate pressure. And that immediately goes out the window because Michael Parsons is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, which means now you can rush Parsons, you can rush Gary, you can rush LVN, and then you can kind of let these other guys do their own thing. You don't have to blitz people. So Cooper can be more involved in the run game, which is going to help his tackle numbers. You can do more with the safeties. Now, our cornerback room is the weakest part. That is also immediately helped by having an excellent pass rush. So I'm excited. It does suck to lose Kenny Clark, stalwart Packer, the last draft pick of Ted Thompson. So that is very sad to see him go. Wish him well in Dallas. But it makes sense. You do this trade all the time. So getting into my sleeper though for the Packers defense, it is Evan Williams. I talked about him earlier in the year. He is the starting safety next to Xavier McKinney. You wouldn't know it because he's only rostered in 10% of IDP leagues on Sleeper, which is crazy. Probably the lowest sleeper we have had in this series that we've been doing. He only played 13 games last year, but he only started 6 of those games. He had 49 combined tackles and 31 solo, one tackle for loss. They use him all over the field. He's at a great camp. He had a really fun interception in practice against the Seahawks. And I just think bang for buck, he's going to be really, really fun. And you can get him really cheap. So somebody to look out for. So let's kick it over to the offensive side of the ball. You got Jordan Love. Obviously, it starts with Jordan Love. He finished as the QB 17 while missing two full games and being pulled out of two. He averaged 17 points per game, which would have made him the QB 13. So still not like amazing, but definitely better than QB 17. Still a downgrade from his QB 5 2023 season. But he was dealing with injuries all year long. He spoke about it, telling Kay Adams on her podcast it affected his ability to scramble and extend plays, which then affected his confidence and that ability. So it seemed to confirm to me that he didn't look comfortable. Uh, it he just would kind of take what the defense gave him a lot more, which on the one hand is good because he's a guy that does a lot of risk, and he did have quite a few interceptions last season. But I think with the what he learned this season, he talked about learning how to process more because he had to, and then being able to move around and being healthy. I think he can re-enter like a QB 5 to 10 conversation. Um, the Packers are dealing with injuries, and he is as well, which could get him off to a slow start. But they do have him. They do have the weapons to take advantage and take an hint for him to take another leap, in my opinion. Last season, the Packers ranked 30th in passing attempts. Every other year under Matt LaFleur, they ranked an average of 17th. So 30th was clearly an indication of how they felt about the health of Jordan Love and what they had in the receiver room. With a new wide receiver, a clean bill of health, they should be back to normal in terms of attempts. LaFleur is always like a balanced game, so they're never going to be in the top five in passing attempts, I wouldn't expect. But I do think they'll get back to where they usually are, which will help Love's numbers out a lot. Love is dealing with a left hand injury, but he's supposed to be good for week one. He really said it's only going to affect his like handoff ability for now, which could be a big deal. But luckily, it's not the throwing arm. I'm going to go straight to the wide receiver room and keep talking about this passing game now. A lot has been made about the Packers not use it or having a true number one wide receiver. For the most part, I do think that's more true than false. Matt LaFleur does, like I said, he prefers his balanced offense, building through the running game and being able to spread the ball around in the passing game. The Packers leader in targets last season was Dontavian Wicks with 76 targets. That really confirms that no true wide receiver one narrative. But if you look at the target leaders in other seasons under Matt LaFleur, it's a lot different. You had 127 targets in 2019, 149 in 2020, 169 in 2021, 100 on the nose in 2022, and then 96 in 2023, which there was a close second at 94 in 2023 as well. So while you can see there was a drop off after Devontae Adams and then Aaron Rodgers left, 76 is a lot lower for the number one wide receiver for the Packers than it normally has been as well. I think we do get back up to that. Again, it speaks to the Love injury and the multiple injuries they dealt with at wide receiver. For a while, Romeo Doubs was out. Christian Watson got hurt again. Dontavian Wicks got hurt. Jaden Reed was in and out of the lineup. They just couldn't, they didn't have that consistency, which obviously can happen again, but I wouldn't expect that to happen, at least not at that rate again. Now, granted, Jaden Reed right now dealing with an injury. He's got a fracture that he's going to try to play through, so that'll be interesting. Christian Watson's probably not coming back until October at the earliest. And then Dontavian Wicks is still injured too. We did get Romeo Doubs back, and then the question of who is the Packers wide receiver one, I really do think the answer is Matthew Golden. He's going to be a contributor at the very least in year one. Everything the Packers have said and done about him this offseason points to that. Golden rested in preseason when the starters rested. He played when the starters played. They had him in with the ones during camp, which is something that Green Bay doesn't typically do with rookies. They tend to build these guys up slowly. So for him to be already playing with the ones, that's a big deal. The camp reporting has been glowing about Golden all offseason, talking about his speed, his route running ability, and his hands, just saying they're off the charts already. Obviously, he's not perfect, but that is exciting to hear. And it was in limited action. He's been making plays regularly. He had an excellent catch against the Seahawks in the last preseason game. He has the largest case of these wide receivers to be the guy in Green Bay. He also is the only one not dealing with an injury right now. So at least in the first couple weeks, he's going to be the guy. Dobbs was hurt to start the preseason, but he's back. And again, Wicks and Reed are dealing with injuries, so who knows? Again, Reed is supposed to play, but who knows if he's gonna what he's gonna look like. And then again, Watson's out likely for the first month, probably more. It is worth noting on the Watson case that he has been running already, which apparently is well ahead of schedule for guys that tore their ACL as late as he did. So that's a good sign. Wicks had a great start to camp. People were talking about how it seemed like he was working on his hands issues and that they could see progress, but now he's hurt, so we'll see. Um, and if he can add hands to his ability to get open, he has an excellent case to be like the two, if not a very strong three in that offense. Dobbs has the most time with Love, though, obviously, with Watson's injuries, and he's been one of the most consistent receivers we have. I don't think he has a large ceiling, but he does have a pretty good floor. Reed is great and fills a lot of roles, but he's rarely out in wide receiver two sets. And so like everyone has these problems, and then we haven't seen what Golden is, and I just really feel like Golden is getting slept on as the primary wide receiver. He is a rookie, obviously. Try to temper expectations, and it may take time for him to get going.
Yeah.
But I think Golden will lead this team in targets by the end of the year. I really genuinely do. Um, I'll just talk about Tucker Kraft real quick before we get into the running game. He's kind of like a sleepy fantasy community pick. A lot of people are on him, and it's easy to see why. Tucker Kraft ranked second in yards per reception for tight ends, seventh in yards, fourth in touchdowns, fifth in yards after the catch, and first in yards after the catch per reception by a wide margin. He had 9.3 yards per catch or yards after the catch per reception, while the next closest was George Kittle at 6.6. So a huge margin there. All while ranking 20th in targets for tight ends. So he was incredibly efficient. The coaching staff seems to love him. They've been talking about his versatility, and Kraft has been reported as saying he's excuse me this offseason they are trusting him to do even more than in years prior, stuff that quote doesn't fit the tight end mold end quote. So I really think Kraft is in line for like a top five fantasy season. I do think just look out for Luke Musgrave, not in a fantasy aspect, but he's been looking a lot better. He's been really looking really explosive, and I think they're going to use him. But he's not going to touch. He's not on the fantasy radar, but just as like a note, he has looked really good this preseason and camp. The running back room. The Packers ran the ball incredibly efficiently last season, ranked fifth in attempts, fifth in yards, and sixth in yards per attempt. That was in no small part due to Josh Jacobs, almost pretty much all due to Josh Jacobs. Jacobs ran the ball 301 times last season for 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, and a 4.4 yards per attempt. He added 36 catches, 342 yards, and his lone career receiving touchdown last year. That gave him his best in terms of scoring and his second best in terms of yardage for his career all purpose. Jacobs is on the wrong side of the rough draft research age warning and career carry totals, but something tells me not to really worry about that yet. He not in 2025 at least. I think the Packers wanted Marshawn Lloyd to take over some of Jacobs' workload in 2025 to keep him fresh. But Marshawn Lloyd is now starting the year once again on IR. I have no faith that he's going to come back anytime soon or if he'll remain on the field given his track record so far. That leaves the RB2 workload to go back to Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks. Wilson looked pretty good last year as a spot guy, 103 carries, 502 yards, 4.9 a clip, and four scores. So it would stand to reason that Wilson will once again take a predominant amount of those opportunities. But it is worth noting that LaFleur seems to really like Chris Brooks as well. Very positive remarks on him during camp. But the fact that Jacobs more than doubled their attempts last season between Wilson and Brooks combined it's just I doubt they end up taking that much work from him at all. Again, I still think the Packers are going to throw more, which is going to eat into him, but I would not be surprised if Jacobs falls. I would be surprised if Jacob falls much below what his workload was from last season.
Woo. Man, okay. You had me at Micah Parsons.
That was the first thing I said.
I know. Yeah, you're rolling me up. Um, yeah, Green Bay, that's interesting about Love, hitting his stride with a little more health and being top 10, 5 to 10. That's a bold prediction.
I
I
mean,
could
he's
see it
QB
though.
five in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it. Um, Everything you said rings, but I'm just trying to figure out this wide receiver room. I'm with you. My biggest curiosity is, what does Reed's workload look like? You say he's not out there in two wide receiver sets. He was coming off as kind of a stud when he was getting the ball. They were spreading it around really well. Tucker Kraft is doing things that are not fit for tight ends. I don't know. This is one of those teams that it's like maybe it's supposed to not be predictable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
part of the
definitely.
success.
I think that's what they're
Um,
going for.
but I think that yeah, Matthew Golden is the number one wide receiver. That sounds pretty cool. I'm here for that. I think we're all here for it. It's going to be nice to see him out there on the field, making things happen. So yeah, I don't see any reason to be, less than optimistic about the Packers' chances here. Getting Parsons is, like you said, it's a bit of an X factor. It gives a little more
Hmm.
balance to the offense and defense, as far as how this team is weighted, and if he can be the leader of the defense, it's gonna be pretty impressive, pretty fun. The North gets northier, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I'll just say it. I've tried to say it every week, but this is the winningest division in all of the NFL in
Woo.
2024. Yeah, they had 45 wins, which is
Jeez.
that's a big gap over the next up team, or the next up division, which was the AFC West at 40. So that's pretty impressive. They only had 23 losses, so winning twice as many games as they're losing. I mean, it's not really possible to do that all the time, but they
Yeah.
managed to do it. So, pretty impressive. A lot of it was fueled by, Green Bay being pretty awesome, but I'd say more of it was fueled by a couple of the other teams. You know what I mean? uh,
Yeah. True. True.
including I don't know what I'm doing here. Minnesota Vikings, huh?
Hmm.
14 wins last season.
Woof.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right? And they didn't even have the top number in the division. So it's it's pretty incredible. I mean, the things you're saying about Green Bay, very impressive on the ground. Not so much for Minnesota. They were 19th in rush yards, 29th in rushing scores.
Woof.
Um, yeah, but they made it up for it on the other side. They're fifth in passing touchdowns and sixth in passing yards. The O line is like middle of the pack on both rush and passing. So um, that's fine. They managed to make it work. They didn't really change a ton. They did go for a guard in the first round of the draft, so
Hmm.
maybe that will help with the run game a little bit. But really, I mean, their defense was awesome. They allowed the fifth least points on the season. But this team is strange, right? A lot of these
Yeah.
teams we go through, and it's like, oh, not a lot has changed or a ton has changed, or there's something exciting going on, and Minnesota has managed to do that in a very different way than all the other teams this offseason. And it all starts with letting Sam Darnold go ahead and go to Seattle.
Yep.
Um, that's wild. I guess I don't know. It's wild to dig into it. I've spent way too much time looking at Sam Darnold stats in preparation for this moment right now. Um, but I could tell you that prior to last year, he had 4 seasons with over 400 dropbacks. And in those seasons, he only got over 3,000 yards once, and that was only by 24 yards, so 3,024 yards. That's great. He never cracked 20 touchdowns, and he was never able or allowed to play a full season. And then, hey, here we go. He's in Minnesota, and the scoring's up. Of course, the interceptions are a little bit better, but his per game stats really, they're within like 10-15% of what he was doing in those other 4 years.
Mm.
He was just allowed to play a full 17 game season, and he ended up getting 4,300 yards, and he threw 35 touchdowns, and it was a pretty good year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was putting up like comparable to Kirk Cousins stats, really. I mean, it's kind of like
Hmm.
a flat line. Yeah, who knows? Whatever. I'm not going to say too much about it,
I wonder
but
why that is.
yeah. So, but we have to say like that wasn't the plan last
Mm,
year, right?
hmm mm.
JJ McCarthy, uh, you know, that was a top 10 pick for them. They were ready to go. They were all systems go, fully backing him. And then, yeah, they had to have Darnold stand in, and it worked out great. So I don't know. For me, it's hard to say for sure, but I'm not giving Darnold that much credit here. I think it's this offense, this team, Kevin O'Connell. You
Yeah.
got the weapons. I think it's regardless of who's under center, things are going to work out. So for me, that makes me feel like McCarthy has a pretty good chance to, repeat statistically the production of Darnold,
Yeah.
with only like improvement as an option. But I don't really even know if it's possible. I feel like this offense just is,
hmm
and it's so weird to see a team where the quarterback has little impact on the result, because it gives me like reminding, a little bit of shades of like the Baker Mayfield success,
hmm
where it's fueled because the stars, aren't the quarterback. And so um it's crazy the way Minnesota's set up, and how good this coaching staff is on both sides of the ball. It just makes it comfortable where you can have a guy like Darnold not do anything really different than what he'd done before, statistically, but you put him in a situation where you don't need him to
hmm
win you the game. You just need him not to lose you the game.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you put in some of these weapons we're about to get into, and your touchdown numbers double. Easy. It
hmm
just makes sense. So it all starts with Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
And
Always.
like, what are we doing? 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, wide receiver two. He's been a top five guy in every season. He's played 17 games.
Crazy.
I will say his rookie year, he only played 16 games, and it was the wide receiver six.
Wow.
Okay, so he could do better, I guess.
Yeah.
But the whole time he's parked right at 15 yards per catch. So he's automatic. It's insane. The target share, it's not going anywhere. Nothing has really changed dramatically as far as like the wide receiver room for this team. And I say that it's kind of sounds like I'm a crazy person when I say that, because they did add Adam Thielen, but we'll get into that later. I do want to just say we got to talk about Addison first, right? He's got the 3 game suspension,
hmm
and I think that's probably more likely to just keep Justin Jefferson as the top wide receiver through those 3 weeks. I think there's some other work that could be passed around, but for the most part, when this offense needs to roll, it's rolling through JJ. But given Jordan Addison's performance last year, it was like a statistical carbon copy of his rookie year. He was the wide receiver 21, and it was only in 15 games. So the prospect of a 14-game season means that he still has the potential to produce at that level. He's parked right at around 100 targets. and he specializes in putting down the touchdowns. It's crazy to me how successful this team has been, like consistently. I think that Addison has another level. I don't know if we're going to see it with the suspension this year, but I do think he has
Hmm.
the potential to expand his role even further. Um, but I think that people may be worried, I guess. Am I worried? Are you worried? Are we worried? Should we be worried? Adam Thielen is in the house. 35-year-old Adam Thielen is in the house. Is he going to come in and challenge Jordan Addison for touchdowns in week 4? Um, Honestly, I don't think so, but that's just my personal opinion. I think the first 3 weeks are going to be pretty cool for Thielen. Our lads has him as an outside receiver, which makes sense. Like that's what he used to do in Minnesota, opposite Stephon back in the day. Um, but he played the slot like 75% or more with his years in Carolina and really impressive stats. But
Hmm.
his ability to have the staying power has been predicated on volume, like big time. He's had, any year he's been like a top 30 wide receiver. He's at 92 to 153 targets and a ton of red zone priority. And, I love the stories back in Minnesota. This is great. It's cool, but I don't think he's cracking 90 targets.
Probably not.
And yeah, and this offense is pretty fine-tuned in the red zone to, what it has in existence. It's like it's actually pretty impressive. You got JJ who's just mopping it up, tied for third in the entire league in red zone targets. And then you've got Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones both at 17 last year, and that's like a respectable number, top 15.
Hmm.
So I don't see him squeezing in like he used to do, kind of robbing from the tight end back in his day. But I do think he's going to have a fun first 3 games, just kind of more of a,
Yeah.
I mean, like, we just get a guillotine league. I think that's great, get the points
Yeah.
and get out, best ball or something like that. But like, it's going to be kind of a, I don't know. It's a more of a blip than a like a sleeper to me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do think this offense, if it can get to where they want it to be, and this is going to be a weird thing to say, people may not agree with me, but I'm a little bit worried about TJ Hawkinson's targets in
Hmm.
this offense.
Okay.
Yeah, I know last year he missed some time, so the production went down a little bit. Um, but in the prior 2 years, he was over 120 targets, and he was a top 5 guy. But you got to think in 2023, Justin Jefferson missed some time, about 7 games, and then 2022. It was pre-Addison, and he had that split year where he was with Detroit first, and then came over and they were on like a feverish kind of playoff run type situation and getting hot and heavy.
Hmm.
Um, and I just think that what happened then was unique. And I don't know if it spreads historically. He hasn't been used in the red zone. And I think that this offense is like trying to stabilize and roll. He's going to be there for the first downs, but I don't see him as like a top 5 guy anymore at this point. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm definitely kind of cooling off on my excitement with him.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I'll just move on.
No, I
But
mean, it makes sense. It's not weird.
yeah, I mean, there's like how many mouths are we feeding here?
Yeah.
Um, I really think this should be, 1A, 1B, or like whatever. Addison needs to step up, but then Justin Jefferson is dynamite,
Yeah.
So I see him, kind of steering towards the Cincinnati type, but they have a defense to back it up. So it's not really, it doesn't matter. But
Hmm.
I do think Hawkinson is kind of outside looking in on this target share, personal opinion. Um, but a lot of people think Aaron Jones is on the outside looking in. I don't know,
Uh,
man. I don't get this. Like, okay, so his running back 15 last year, he had 225 carries and he's 30, right? So people are
mhm.
acting like he's, like his locker is being packed up and he's going to be, ushered out of the offense because Jordan Mason is in town now, and uh,
I don't see
I
it.
I don't see it either, man. Like Jones is still respectable. He had 62 targets last year. He had 46 missed tackles for us and 3 yards per carry after contact per attempt.
Hmm.
So like he's hitting the metric, he's still efficient, he's still reliable, 17 red zone targets, he's integral to this offense. I just don't see it. Like Mason was cool. He had a couple of games that went, pretty nuclear, and then he kind of
Yeah.
came back down to earth. And I can only trust anything that happens in San Francisco to be reproducible or like someone's worst or best. San Francisco is just a weird place. But I don't see it with Jordan Mason
Mm-mm.
coming. I mean, it's like 1A, 1B, yes, but I think Aaron Jones still has a season or two of like reliable, productive fantasy
I agree.
talent. Yeah, and I don't know like if I don't know if you're going to be able to start Jordan Mason in your lineup this year, period. I just don't see it personally, but
I wouldn't expect it.
no, and I think people are, I don't know, maybe they're just scared. People get frightened. I get scared, sometimes I get scared too, but not today. It's not how it's going to be. I'm looking at the IDP here and I'm struggling to find a sleeper on this team. Like everybody on this defense is rostered in
Hmm.
in um over 50% of leagues. I guess I'm going to go with like Blake Cashman. He seems like a bit of a sleeper for
Yeah.
me. Um,
I like that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know exactly what to say, but I mean, he's over 100 tackles and he's getting sacks, but there's such a balanced approach on this. But then like it's the D line is insane right
Yeah.
here. So it's hard for me to go stud. I lean Van Ginkel, but I just had like a really good year with him last year, and he had a couple pick sixes and
Yeah.
11 and a half sacks and like D-line guys aren't supposed to be pulling down 2 interceptions.
Mm.
But he does really well. And then Jonathan Grenard is just like out of this world, potential. So 12 sacks in the past 2 years, like their front is awesome. So IDP wise, it's all over. Like everything's
Yeah.
everywhere for the Vikings. And I don't know, man. This division's insane. They should branch off and do their own league. You know what I mean?
They
Go
just
straight to the
constantly play each
cash.
other. Yeah. That'd be
Yeah, that would
fun.
be, yeah, we'll see.
No, I think you kind of nailed him. I'm with you on the Thielen thing. I think in PPR leagues, especially early, I think he'll be really good. He's really, really, I mean, you saw what he did for Bryce Young and his confidence. You would expect the same thing to happen for JJ McCarthy. Just that
Mhm.
consistent guy with hands that can get open and you can just feed him the ball. Like maybe not huge upside. He's not going to be scoring touchdowns, like you said, the way he used to for Minnesota, but I think that's really nice. A really nice addition that they made. And then yeah, when Addison comes back, he's obviously going to be the number two, but having Thielen as your number three, that's really awesome. Kind of with you on the Hawkinson thing. Maybe I'll be wrong, but it just seems like he's on the outs as far as like a perennial top five guy. Aaron Jones constantly getting slept on. Everyone's like, oh, he's in a RBBC now. Oh, really? Like he wasn't with Jamal Williams and with
Yeah.
AJ Dillon
Mm.
and fucking every other person he's ever played with, and all he does is produce. It's almost like people forget that we intentionally didn't run him into the ground to keep him fresh because of his speed and his maneuverability. And so like yeah, he's gonna be great. He's probably gonna catch some passes for JJ McCarthy as well. Like I'm in on Aaron Jones this year, especially the value you can get him at. People are ranking like all kinds of stuff ahead of him, and it drives me nuts. And as far as the defense, yeah, like pick your poison. I think you threw out a lot of really good guys. Gennard is underrated and great. I will say with the loss of Cam Bynum, I'm looking at a guy like Josh Metellus as
Yeah.
like a potential pickup there because Bynum in that
65% rostered.
yeah, there you go. So that makes sense. Just because Cam Bynum was awesome
Dude, he was.
for the Vikings, and I hope he continues to be that great for the Colts. I'm skeptical, but we'll see.
That cold secondary, they have to do something.
They'd have to do something. But yeah, man, I mean the Vikings should be right there. I mean it's all whether or not JJ McCarthy can play, and I was super in on JJ McCarthy coming out. So I think he can. I think the Vikings will be right there fighting for a playoff spot with most of the rest of the NFC North.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Us,
which,
not all.
we can talk about the Chicago Bears. I think people are anointing them early, just like they always are with the Bears, the three-time offseason champs. But again, every year it seems it makes sense. Like the additions they made and the players they have, and even the addition at coach makes sense why people would get excited. So we'll talk about Caleb Williams. He was obviously renowned first overall pick, who had a decent enough rookie season. If you look at the numbers, the Bears didn't have an amazing record, but on paper, Williams had 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns against only six interceptions. That's pretty good. But if you pop the hood and look at some of those numbers, it was less than ideal. Um, Caleb Williams was sacked more than any other quarterback in the NFL with 68 sacks. He was second in the NFL in percentage of pressure turned into sacks, which I think is a really good, big deal, according to PFF. That basically means like how many times was he getting pressured and they felt like he was the one that caused it to be a stack instead of throwing the ball away, instead of escaping the pocket, yada, yada, yada. So he was second in the league in that, behind only Will Levis, which is not company you want to be in. This is while being fourth in time to throw per attempt, which is pretty crazy when you think Bears offensive line got lamented all offseason for how bad they were. He was fourth in time to throw with over 3 seconds an attempt. So that again, it's not that I don't think he can process. It's just something about the way he just holds on the ball a lot like Justin Fields did for them. Williams' interceptions were low, but he was fifth for qualified quarterbacks in turnover worthy plays with 19. So only six of those got converted into interceptions. So that's not a number you want to see. And you hope that he can clean that up. The Bears did, obviously, I mentioned it. They worked on their offensive line. They were ranked 24th to finish the year last year. And they had a huge jump starting this year, ranked fourth by PFF, which, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Pump the brakes. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about that, if I'm honest. I think they could easily be top 10, though, to be fair, if everyone plays the way that they have been. Joe Thuney is a great addition. He's moving back inside, and that's cool. But again, the Chiefs need offensive line help, and they didn't bring him back. That's a pretty big question mark, and he's getting up there in age. But him moving back inside, he's been one of the highest graded guards for a while now, so he's great. Drew Dahlman, they bring in at center. He's two years in a row a top five rated center for PFF, so that should be a good move. And then Jonah Jackson, who's kind of a bust for the Rams, but if he can bounce back and be healthy, that's a really stout interior, and they have good tackles in Darnell Wright and oh, I forgot his name. Oh no, poor lad, Darnell Wright and I was trying to do it without pulling it up, but I'm going to pull it up. Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. Pretty good tackles out there. So, I mean, if they step up, they could be fourth. Seems a bit exaggeratory to me, but I think they can be a lot more improved. But again, it's not like Caleb Williams didn't have decent amount of time to throw last season, so they need to get his side of it worked out. But if they could both work on it and Ben Johnson can get this offense going, then you like what you see. Speaking of Ben Johnson, in his 3 seasons with the Lions, the Lions finished 13th in rush attempts, seventh in rush attempts, and third in rushing attempts. The Bears RB room is nowhere near the RB room of the Lions, but I would be surprised if Johnson just totally abandons the running game because of that. I could see them being in 10 to 15 in rush attempts again. And you would think Swift is going to be that guy, at least this year, but it's worth noting the rumors surrounding the Bears sniffing around Ashton Genty before the draft. Swift also already has a history with Ben Johnson, and DeAndre Swift lost the attempt share to Jamal Williams 262 to 99 under Ben Johnson, so that kind of scares me. Something tells me Swift is not going to have a super long leash with Ben Johnson. And then because of the injury to Roshan Johnson, Kyle Monangai looks like he's going to be the RB2 guy there, which he has a similar style to Jamal Williams, kind of a bruiser, not a ton of wiggle necessarily, but he did make guys miss in college and he can run people over. You and I weren't super in on him, but like he's going to get an opportunity here. But there's also rumors that they're going to add a running back. Due to the Roshan Johnson injury, looks like they're in the market. I mean, they only have three running backs on the roster, including Johnson, so they probably need to bring in somebody. But I think it's very much going to be a committee here. I think Monangai is worth a stash for like a bruiser in this offense, but I don't know that I'm like super in on this Bears running game, at least in fantasy. I think they'll be efficient. Which brings us to the wide receiver room, which is I think where you need to look for points here, and the tight ends, but we'll get into that. I genuinely don't know what to expect from the Bears wide receiver room, though. It's tough. All the reporting seems varied. You got some people saying DJ Moore is locked in as the wide receiver one still. Some people say it's Roma Dunze. Their burden started slow, but now is turning heads. You got Olamide Zaccheaus is still making noise. There's just a lot going on here. And my gut says by the end of the year it will be Odunze though. There's a quote. Here's a quote from the Bears wide receiver coach Antoine Randall, if you remember him, old Steelers legend. Legend might be strong, but he was on the Steelers and he was good. Um, his quote is, "As you understand the offense, we can put you in different spots, no question. Prototypical X receiver, split out wide, but he's a guy that you can move around. I think he's going to have a big year." That was in reference to Rome Odunze. I loved Rome coming out of the draft. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you know how much I loved him. Uh, I think he has true blood wide receiver potential. And Moore kind of seems like the odd man out to me. He's older than Odunze. He's not a Ben Johnson guy, which neither is Rome, but Rome is harder to ever get rid of, it being in his second year and a top 10 pick. So to me, I think Rome after this year could be on his way out. That doesn't mean that Moore's not going to be productive, but I see him maybe kind of going on the way out, and then like down the stretch, I think Rome has way higher upside than Moore. I do think Moore might have like a higher floor potentially, but even if you look in the preseason against the Chiefs, Rome was targeted 5 times. That led the team. He had 3 catches and a touchdown. Um, so to me, by the end of the year, I think Rome is the wide receiver one here, the true alpha. Um, but then everyone wants to talk about the slot receiver for Ben Johnson, which, that makes sense. Mon Ra was incredible in that spot, absolute force to be reckoned with every single week for the Lions. And Luther Burden seems to fit that role perfectly. But I, again, think, oh, and I forgot to kind of say this about all the stuff I was saying about Caleb Williams. It doesn't mean that I think he's going to be bad this year. I just think it's a slower burn than people might be expecting. I think the Bears by the end of the year will be kind of a force, one of those wrecking crew teams that like fucks up people's playoff chances and stuff. And I think it's the same thing here with Luther Burden. Olamide Zaccheaus again is getting some pop. I could see him starting the year as part of this offense early on. Um, but Burden is another super high like upside stretch guy. And this is a really interesting stat that I pulled from Nathan Yankee. He's a reporter, and it pertains to Luther Burden here. His quote: "Since the NFL moved to a 3-game preseason, only 4 rookie wide receivers drafted in the first 3 rounds have logged 15 or more second half snaps in a preseason game. Tutu Atwell, Danny Gray, Amari Rogers, Jermaine Burton, and Luther Burton. They combined for 9 receptions as rookies. Now, everybody's situation's different, but the fact that Luther Burden's playing well into the third quarter in the third preseason game kind of shows you that I don't think they think he's quite ready to be an NFL starter at this point. Again, not saying he's going to be bad. Not saying I think he's a great. I think he's great for this offense. I think he's a great player. I just think it's a slow burn. So relying on him early on could be kind of bad for your fantasy team. Um, on the flip side of that, though, I can't see a reason why Ben Johnson would take Colson Loveland as early as he did and not use him early and often. Bears insiders are super excited about Loveland. They say his connection with Caleb Williams is already developing. And so if Burden is not the guy over the middle in year one, it stands to reason that Loveland could be. He's a playmaker with consistent hands. I feel like the world kind of turned on him, where early on everybody was in on him as like an awesome prospect. And then when he went to the Bears, everyone was excited. It seems like that's flipped, which is funny because I feel like I went the other way. Both of us were kind of not really in on him. And I think Warren is way better than him. But I'm starting to see the Loveland project here. We've seen rookie tight ends come out or the rookie tight end curse seems to have been broken in recent seasons. You had Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers, guys like that, um, just being awesome. I don't know that he's at that level, but I think he's in that ilk. Again, I like Warren pretty significantly more still. I do think Warren's in a worse offense though, so take that for what it is. But I think Loveland has top 10 tight end potential in year one. And Cole Kmet is also there. The Bears IDP roster or their defensive roster is interesting. They have a good to great defense, in my opinion, but most of their stars are under 60% rostered, which is interesting to me. Tremaine Edmonds is a great number two linebacker to TJ Edwards, who Edwards had an amazing season last year with 129 tackles, second only to Kevin Byard, who had 130, who they brought in from Tennessee. Edmonds had like 110, so those were your top three tackle leaders. They're all great. Uh, they have Sweat and Grady Jarrett on the offense or defensive line, which makes them a pretty stout defensive line. Now, Sweat did have his lowest sack totals coming over to the Bears last season, but it is what it is. New team, everything. But for sleeper, I'm gonna go with Jaquan Brisker. He only played 5 games last season, but he was coming off back-to-back 100 combined tackle seasons. He had 40 tackles in the 5 games that he played last season combined, and that would track to be his highest total of combined tackles at 136 across a whole season. He was hurt, obviously, but he's still only 26. I think he can bounce back and kind of be a force for you in the IDP world. And only rostered in 57% of leagues.
Good. Makes me feel better about my 55% in the last one.
Yeah, there was not anybody that was everyone was sitting right in that like 55 to 60 range outside of TJ Edwards, who was at like 90.
Hey, I got more of it for you here with the next team up, but that's bogus, dude. Combined for 9 catches. Come on.
Right?
I mean, so he missed a lot of offseason with nagging injuries, right? So
hmm
it just makes sense. That's fine. I'm not that stat can go down as a miss in my book, but I think you're right. I've been avoiding DJ Moore this year just because it doesn't make sense for them
hmm
to build what is a new offense around a player like him, um, who, he's great, but they've put a lot of draft capital into the wide receiver room, and there's very little reason for them to force him to be the guy when they could, more beneficially rely on Rome to develop and,
hmm
Burden in the slot. That sounds amazing. And then just have DJ Moore there as a reliable guy.
hmm
I think it's going to be a pretty balanced season for Rome and DJ Moore. I don't think we're going to see the kind of seasons we've been seeing out of DJ Moore. But that's all right. I could be wrong. I do like Colson Loveland, like we were kind of cold on him, the landing spot and then the coach combo, definitely, and the capital. I mean, it all says like give this guy a shot. You should be more interested than you are, despite our initial, just scouting reports. But Sam Laporta, 120 targets as a rookie in a Ben Johnson offense. So it's not out of the realm to think that he's got something pretty wild coming. But it all hinges on Chicago being a productive offense. And I don't think that they have the pieces that Detroit had. Here I go talking about Detroit again. But just from an offensive line standpoint, I don't think Chicago is necessarily that far off, but I think that what they had going with Goff coming in from LA and the pieces they already had, the coaching system they had, the culture they had, it just felt right. And I think that they're still reading the instructions in Chicago. and it's probably going to take a year to get that off the ground. So I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that you said all that, and I just said it back to you. Maybe not. Who knows? Could be. Um, but yeah, I've said Detroit like 15 times here. I'm just going to go ahead and say the Detroit Lions out loud now.
Nice.
15 wins. Yay. Pretty impressive little season they had. They continue to keep hitting it pretty hard. Incredible, really. The offense was outstanding. They were third in rushing touchdowns and sixth in rushing yards, second in receiving yards, fourth in receiving touchdowns, and the run blocking was top three, pass blocking was middle of the pack. Their defense was allowing, seventh fewest scores in the league, and that's with a couple of superstars missing time. So, hey, what could go wrong? I don't know. Maybe they could lose like all their coaches or something like that. That would probably slow them down a little bit. But that's pretty much what happened here. We've got a new defensive coordinator and a new offensive coordinator. You've talked a little bit about the old offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. Now we've got John Morton. And John Morton is a guy who's been around for quite a while. He was a wide receiver, in college and a little bit in the NFL. And he got to start really in the NFL as a wide receivers coach for San Francisco from 2011 to 2014. And it was like, it wasn't a good group, it's like Michael Crabtree, but they were bottom three in the league as far as passing most of those years. And so I'm like, this guy not impressing me. Then fast forward to New Orleans in 2015 and 2016 when he was the receivers coach there, and it was a different story. They led the league in passing yards both of those years. So I'm like, it's kind of waffling on if this guy has much of an impact as a coach, or if he's just kind of the product of his environment. And if that's the
Hmm.
case, then let's go. I mean, I'm good. I'm good with it because he's got a pretty good environment. But after those New Orleans years, he got a shot to be the OC his first and only year. Prior to this, as the offensive coordinator, was with the Jets in 2017, and it was bad. It was like Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Curse, and Josh McCown throwing the ball, and it wasn't good. So most recently, he's been with the Broncos as a wide receivers coach, and that was, it's nothing very impressive. It's like he's only as good as his quarterback, and I feel like Jared Goff is holding things down in a pretty impressive way right now. So I'm kind of ignoring this. Like I'm just ignoring the Ben Johnson thing, and I don't think it's a good thing to do for me because, I think that we all understand the situation in Detroit to be Dan Campbell is like the culture guy, and Ben Johnson was like the scheme guy, and now I don't know who the scheme guy is. Aaron Glenn obviously did great things with the defense, but all right, I'm getting lost. So here we go. I have no idea what to say about the Detroit Lions because their team hasn't changed
Hmm.
at all. They also got a guard in the second round. They traded up, in the third to get a wide receiver. Um, but Jared Goff is still a quarterback. He's killing it. It's 4 years over 4,400 yards. He's just not missing a beat. For some reason, he's just a productive quarterback, and just kicks all the ass. So it's probably going to hit 35 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. So that's it. Jared Goff, nothing changes. Everything's beautiful. Keep it rolling. It's the same thing all the way down. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's not stopping. He's just getting buried in targets, 140 plus the past 3 years. Top five guy. If he can keep that workload going, it doesn't stop. It's insane. The way the balance offense is, there's nothing that's slowing him down. So I do expect Jameson Williams to kick it up a notch. He had a decent year, his third year last year. He ended up being in the top 20 for wide receivers and hit 1,000 yards. Had 7 touchdowns on only 91 targets. I feel like that number has some room to grow, and so I'm kind of looking for that to happen. Because really, I mean, 140 for Amon-Ra, you got 90 for Williams, and then it kind of skips down. Laporta was right there around 80, and then Gibbs was around 60. So it's really kind of established. As long as Amon-Ra is getting 140, the rest of these guys are kind of hoping for touchdown numbers,
Hmm.
which have been pretty solid. 7 for Williams, 7 for Laporta. I'd like to see Laporta step up back to the target share. I already mentioned 120 as a rookie. That jumped way down to 83 last year, and there wasn't any missed time really or anything. So we just need him to be a bigger part. But how are you going to do that when this running back room is wildly out of control and
Hmm.
efficient? And now Jahmyr Gibbs is, working more with the wideouts. And it's like, okay, where does it stop? Like this guy was insane. He was one of the top guys last year. Um, and 1,400 yards, 16 scores on only like he had fewer attempts than Aaron Jones, right? So he's doing this efficiency level, just scoring everything, targets, pretty much his workload was the same as Aaron Jones, but he just had an extra 100 fantasy points in
Jesus.
comparison.
Yeah.
So it's hard, you can't bet against a guy that has efficiency and a team that knows how to use them. And then he's, supported in his, you know, I don't know, he has fresh legs, right? Because you've got David Montgomery who just keeps literally doing the same thing every year as well, just right around 200 carries, just scoring, making things happen, doesn't catch many passes, doesn't need to. Um, I don't know, man. This is just like a reliable engine. You just turn the key and it runs. So what are you going to do about Detroit? You got Tim Patrick no longer in Detroit. So I
Hmm.
guess if you're looking for something to speculate on, you got a massive 44 targets to play with, I guess. Um, I think I think that Tesla has some potential to be something, but he's going to be the fifth guy on the target list,
Yeah.
guaranteed to be out targeted by Gibbs,
Hmm.
Williams, Laporta, and Brown. And we're talking about a guy that didn't crack 900 yards in 2 years in Arkansas. So I'm willing to see what happens with him. Obviously, there you were interested in him as a player, and he's got some,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got some athleticism and some grit to his game that's intriguing. But I think don't if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's Detroit. What are you gonna do? Um, yeah, IDP wise, oh man, Brian Branch is a stud. I mean, Aiden
Yeah.
Hutchinson,
Yep.
what are you gonna do? These guys kind of own the team as far as the stud level goes. There's some decent talent though around. I really like a sleeper is Alex Anzalone.
Mm.
He's a little bit older, but he's only rostered in 56% of leagues. He's 30 now. He missed a couple of games last year, but prior to that, he's in the 120 counts for tackles. He's getting forced fumbles. He's getting sacks. He's producing in the mid 20s as far as like a linebacker goes. So if he's a guy you can sneak off of someone's roster or pick up if he's out there, I think it's worth it. If he has a full season and this defense is probably not going to miss a beat, he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're one of the we've ran into this a few times where it's hard to talk about them. Like they did change the offensive coordinator, but until we see what that is, we can't really. We're not, I don't know, experts at that at least.
I
Um,
looked into him quite a bit and I
yeah,
couldn't draw any. It was all over the place.
yeah, for sure. So I mean, you look at Amon Ra is going to be sick. Jameer Gibbs is going to be sick. I think he kind of takes another leap in front of David Montgomery, in my opinion. And I like Laporta to bounce back. Maybe not like to the heights of tight end one or anything, but like I do like him to bounce back and have a really good year. So yeah, I mean they're going to be great. Jared Goff's going to be awesome, unless it really was just the Ben Johnson experience. And then I do like the Anzalone shout out. And yeah, Brian Burns has been a stalwart for me on our IDP Dynasty League, so I can't say enough about him.
That's it,
Well,
dude. Did we do
that's
32 teams?
we did 32 teams, 8 divisions. Wow, we are done. Well, let's get into the
Oh, you
division
gotta get the
leaders.
best. Yeah, the best of the
Yeah,
best here.
I think this one will be pretty quick.
Okay.
QB, I have Jared Goff.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't that wild?
It is
Okay.
pretty wild. I do
We'll,
think
we'll
it could
see.
be a stiff competition, maybe, but I think it's Jared Goff.
Okay.
Running back, it's Jameer Gibbs,
No questions.
and then wide receiver, it's Amon Ra.
What? What?
I I don't see who's gonna beat him.
Justin Jefferson?
Oh well, yeah. I mean Justin Jefferson, I guess. Yeah, I, yeah,
Oh, oh,
yeah. That's fair.
damn, man. This is all
I
right.
really like Amon Ra. I guess,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
no, you're
mean,
right.
no,
Justin Jefferson. I fucked that up. I'm sleeping too hard on the JJ McCarthy stuff. There's no reason Jefferson's
I'm
gonna.
so, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? This is going to be one to circle back on.
Yeah. But no, we'll go Justin Jefferson. That makes sense. That's fine by me. Because I has Amon Ra ever beat Justin Jefferson? Probably not.
I don't, maybe 2023 when JJ missed 7 years or seven,
7 games.
seven
Yeah,
games.
so that I guess I don't know why I didn't even write Jefferson's name. That was just a misfire by me. But
You're good.
and then tight end,
We're going to do it, dude.
is it Tucker Kraft?
We're going to do it. No,
Okay.
wait, we didn't do it. Did we do it? Yeah,
No, we
no,
didn't.
we
There's no
didn't do
bear.
it. Damn it. No
There's no
bears.
bear on here.
Nor
But
should there
hey,
be.
hey, that it wasn't a clean
Tucker
sleep for the
Craft, though.
Lions. I like that. I mean, unless I mean
You're
it could be
trying to
Laporta.
do it.
I
You're trying.
tried,
No,
yeah.
no, it's Tucker Craft, man. That guy, he's doing things that tight ends should not be allowed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I'd like to,
there.
I'd like to know more about that. So,
Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, I mean they do use them on like the QB sneak type stuff, and so maybe that's what I don't know. But
yeah.
there you have it. There is our last division review. Sorry, Justin Jefferson, didn't mean to forget about you there. But join us next week. We're gonna do top 12 in and out that we do every year. Players that are gonna be that were in the top 12 that we think are gonna fall out, and then who we were gonna replace them with. And then we're gonna hit you with our post preseason Dynasty rookie tier list. So that'll be really fun. But
Ooh, we.
yeah, it'll be a stocked episode. So until then, though, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, take care, my friends.
I took a lease out on your heart.